So the time is 7:02 p.m. and I call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Red Oak City Council to order. We do have a quorum present with Councilman Drake, Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin, and Councilman Smith. In chambers, Councilman Lightfoot is absent. Notice has been duly posted in accordance to Texas Government Code Section 551, and we are able to conduct this meeting in person and also by video conference. And we have a packed house, and we're so excited about what's going to kind of transpire. So we're glad everybody's here. So if you would please rise with me as I lead us in our invocation, and then we'll do our pledges. Heavenly Father, please bless this city, all the residents, our council, our city workers, our management teams. You give us come with experience and come with knowledge, but I think you help us with the wisdom that we need to have to be able to discern what's best for the citizens. Please be with our first responders, our military, and Lord, all our governments can help. Use your help. So, in your name I pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Ms. Platt. Got an introduction for us.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'd like to introduce our new Assistant Finance Director, Ms. Anya Penton. Anya has over 14 years of governmental accounting experience. She also has a bachelor's in business from the University of Texas at Arlington. If I'm saying these correctly. She's also a certified government finance officer. She most recently worked at the City of Cedar Hill, so nearby, familiar with our area. She was the controller there. So we're very excited to have her on board, and please help me welcome her to the city.
Excellent. Welcome. I think that's to kind of get you some well-needed help, and we're glad you're here. I think you made a great choice leaving from Cedar Hill and coming to the great city of Chief Wolf, I think we got an excellent presentation headed our way.
Mayor, Council, once again I get to come before you with a couple of promotions for our department. As all of you are well aware of, we asked for a replacement lieutenant's position in the budget, and we were granted that by the council in the city. And as a result of that, we administered some promotional examinations, and with the replacement of the lieutenant's position, that also created a vacancy within our patrol sergeant ranks. And so we're going to be doing two promotions tonight, one from sergeant to lieutenant, and one from detective to patrol sergeant. And so I'm going to ask both Detective Matthew Bratcher and Sergeant Jason Meeks to join me at the podium. So Detective Bratcher has been with the Red Oak Police Department since April 13th of 2015. He has served the citizens of Red Oak in the Patrol Division, Community Relations Liaison, Detective, Officer in Charge, Field Training Officer, and a trainer within the organization. He also, as a detective, worked crimes against children, which is a very taxing and daunting course of endeavors by itself. investigating, things that happen to children. He came to law enforcement a little later in life. He brings a wealth of experience, with financials and financial crimes and things of that, having worked in the mortgage industry. He claims his strongest support comes from his family, their encouragement, and the courage that they have for him to continue to do his best, especially when things get difficult in this job. And so tonight, we're going to be promoting him from detective to sergeant. And I'm going to read one warrant of promotion. I'm going to read the lieutenant's warrant of promotion in just a minute. They're identically the same with the exception of the ranks. So I'm going to go ahead and have you have your family come up, and we're going to do your badge swap. His wife, Cynthia, will be pinning his new sergeant badge on him. So Cynthia, the trick to pinning this is, because that material is really thick, you got to do it really hard.
Okay, I got it.
He's trained in first aid, so. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, there you go.
And then we're going to be promoting Sergeant Meeks to lieutenant. So I'm going to go ahead and read the warrant of promotion before I have his family come up. A little bit of history about Sergeant Meeks. He started this department in 2011. He attained the rank of sergeant in 2015, shortly after my arrival. He has a total of 28 years of law enforcement experience. He's a master peace officer, accident reconstructionist, TCOL instructor, field training officer, firearms instructor. He's a National Association of Professional Drivers driving instructor. He's also one of our tactical medic instructors that teaches all of our officers combat first aid. He's been kind of a rock and a source in the patrol division. He's been a source of really steadfast loyalty to the department and the citizens of Red Oak. And it's a really big privilege to be able to promote him from sergeant to lieutenant, and that was because of the position that was approved again this last October. So I'm going to go ahead and read the warrant of promotion. It says, "To all who shall see these present in greetings, know that reposing special trust and confidence in the fidelity and abilities of Sergeant Jason Meeks, I do appoint this sergeant a lieutenant of police in the Red Oak Police Department to rank as such from the first day of October 2022. This appointee will therefore carefully and diligently discharge the duties of the grade to which appointed by doing and performing all manners of things thereunto pertaining. And I do strictly charge and require all personnel of lesser grade to render obedience to appropriate orders. This appointee is to observe and follow such orders and directions as may be given from time to time by his superiors, acting in according to law and directives and the laws governing the discipline of law enforcement officers of the Red Oak Police Department in the state of Texas, given under my hand the office of the Chief of Police the first day of October in the year of our Lord 2022. Go ahead and call your family member. Sergeant Meeks, now Lieutenant Meeks, is going to be pinned by his wife, Crystal. So I'll also be presenting Lieutenant Meeks with his insignia of rank, which are his lieutenant bars. Congratulations. Again, this is a really it's rare in your career that you get to sit here and promote officers within your department, and over the last couple of months, we've really had the privilege to make some moves in the organization. I think that set us up for some continued success by putting people that are reliable and that we trust and that we know are going to make sound decisions in the field into these leadership positions within the organization. So his official title is Lieutenant over Criminal Investigations, but that position has got kind of a weird caveat to it in that he's going to be revitalizing our community outreach efforts and our community engagement efforts by bringing some of our programs that were stifled a little bit by COVID back online. So we're really fortunate to have him in that role. He's already hit the ground running with our National Night Out event that we had. He assisted with that, and he's already done a couple of public speaking engagements for senior citizens in town. So we look forward to him continuing to act in that role and Sergeant Bratcher's leadership in the patrol division. So with that, I present to you Lieutenant Jason Meeks and Sergeant Matthew Bratcher.
Now you gotta twist in like they did. Oh, you feel that way too? Sure. You guys want to grab one with your family?
Congratulations, gentlemen. Thank you. Y'all don't have to leave, we got some great stuff coming. See you, thank you. Okay, so now we'll move on to proclamations. Proclamations are an honor for myself and the council to be able to make the proclamations for the general citizens of our city. First proclamation, I think what we'll do is it's in support of National Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And as most people know, I think the majority of our cases are in ladies, but it also affects men. And we do know that mammography is one of the best ways to detect breast cancer. And at some point in the future, I hope our researchers and our medical scientists and doctors are able to find a cure. So on behalf of the council, I extend our deepest respect for survivors and for those advocating the preservation and prevention and cure, and in doing so, proclaim October of 2022 as Breast Cancer Awareness Month in our city, and proclaim October 21st to be Peak Out Day and I encourage all citizen community residents to wear pink in an effort to raise awareness. And we are adopting that on this date. Tell you what, a lot of time we'll have our firefighters out there, passing the boot, for that specifically, and or they might be wearing, colorful shirts. Anytime I get one, I love wearing it. So, anyway, so October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And we actually have, Red Ribbon Week, October 23rd through the 31st. And that is about alcohol and drug abuse and how it is devastating within the families and the community. And we have a Red Ribbon campaign that offers citizens the opportunity to demonstrate their commitment to drug-free lifestyle, no use of illegal drugs, and that week is October 23rd through the 31st. And that on behalf of the City Council, I as mayor, hereby proclaim October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week, and encourage all citizens to participate in drug prevention education activities, not only during the week, but also throughout the year, by making a visible statement that we are strongly committed to a drug-free lifestyle. And October is also Fire Prevention Month. It's staggering the loss of life that happens in home fires, and one of the best ways to survive those is to have a plan, to have a working fire detection system, have a map for our younger kids to know where they're to go when they get out of the house. Check on your neighbors. If you have some neighbors that aren't able to get up on a ladder, we don't want our seniors to get up on ladders because they either get stuck or they fall. Our fire department will come and change out those batteries, or if you have a neighbor, do your good deed and get over there and help change that battery out. And so we proclaim October 9th through the 15th as Fire Prevention Week, and October is Fire Prevention Month. And, Chief, you want to say anything specifically about that?
We just want to encourage everybody, like you said, to have the working smoke detectors, and check on the elderly, check on the neighbors. We are fortunate enough to be able to get back out there in the schools this year, now that COVID's kind of on the decline, and so our guys have been out there already this month, working with the elementary schools, educating the children. So we're excited to get back out there, and I know the kids seem to be very excited to have us back in their facilities so they can climb through the fire engines and see that, and continue to learn about fire safety education. So we're appreciative of that and glad we can be back out there.
Yeah. And thank you all for what you do. Just look on your neighbors. And that's what the community is about, is to reach out and help each other. And then, lastly, but not leastly, we have National Cyber Security Awareness Month. And that is also this month of October. We have people that want to get your own information and just make sure that you have some type of critical protection on your computers. We here at the city take it very strongly that we, as your government, do everything we can do to protect your private information so it doesn't get out there. We have a fabulous IT department that is on top of that, and each council member and each city employee is responsible for taking extra training each year, or 2 years, what is it? Each 1 year to do a program so we can identify problems that could get into our system. So, October Cyber Security Month in. You want it? Sure. Okay. But thank you for what you do, so you're welcome.
Just a couple of points. Since COVID-19, cyber crime is actually up 600% because so many people are working remote with their computers, so be careful. I mean, they're trying to hack you more and more, trying to get your personal information and steal your money.
Okay, and then, we had a long-time, city, council member, and city, pro tem, I think Mayor Pro Tem, who passed this past 10 days ago or so, and that was, Mr. Ralph Madden Jr. He did a lot for the city in the infant type time frame, kind of growing up, and he will be greatly missed. He was a good friend to all. All right. So we had several citizens' comments. I'm not going to take them in order because some of them are actually agenda items, so we'll take them at that time. We had one, however, was Donnie Lutrick. You'll step up to the mic. We just state your name, whether you live in the city limits, and what you want to address us in.
Yes,
Again,
I'm Donnie Lutrick.
About 3 minutes, so.
I live in Red Oak. Do you need my address?
We have it, so it's all good.
Okay, very good. All right. Thanks, Mr. Mayor, council, and staff for an opportunity to share for just a few moments. I'm here this evening to encourage everyone to vote in the November 8th election. Along with very important statewide and national implications, this election is important locally. The Red Oak ISD bond proposal is addressing a very serious need in our community. Building a second middle school is a priority. In fact, it could be said that we're at an emergency level when it comes to capacity issues, which affects our students and parents, staff, and really our entire community. High-quality, thriving public schools are a driving force in our local economies, and schools bring families who build homes and spend dollars with our local businesses, and most importantly here, pay taxes. I dare say that our schools are the true center of our city and play the vital role in making it a community, not just a place to sleep at night. We have been truly blessed to have such strong and impactful schools in Red Oak for a very long time. In fact, it was Red Oak ISD and its schools that drew my wife and myself to Red Oak 16 years ago, when it was time for us to have our own kids start school. And now they're either finished or almost finished. It goes by fast. It is time to move this issue from being one that divides us to one that unites us in a way that helps us invest in the future of Red Oak. I urge you to support the passing of this bond, and when you go vote, take your closest 100 friends with you to make sure we pass. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I'm going to kind of diverge just a little bit. I don't really think about how crowded things are. I had the privilege of going to an elementary school to talk about government. And at first grade, they actually have pictures of councilmen and mayors in their room, and they talk about what government actually means at first grade. And I went to Red Oak Elementary and I thought, oh, this was kind of nice. I figured maybe 4 or 5 students or teachers or whatever. You know, so they had 3 classes, okay? 3 teachers and 4 classes, whatever that 21 is, I guess, for that age. And so, you know, I thought, okay, it's kind of distributed all over the place. Well, they try to have kids go close to their home schools without having to ship them away. So I had a 2nd grade teacher come in from over at Shupman, and that's where they're looking to build this next middle school. They had 7 sections, so 7 teachers at 21 for 2nd grade. It's busting at the seams. Anyway, I diverged, but my point to Donnie is that they start teaching government at 1st grade to be, and that was probably one of the most interesting questions that I received was, how did you become mayor? And so I got to explain to them about an election and what that actually means and why people need to go vote. Doesn't matter what your view is, just go vote. That's the point. So anyway, thank you very much. So, but I was honored to be able to do that. All right, so I have 3 others, but my understanding is that those are agenda items, and we'll talk about those at the Alan Atkins. You want to do it on 9, correct? Okay. Mandy, and I don't know your last name. Morgan, on 13. You're welcome to speak now, too. I don't want to cut anybody off. I just want to verify. And then we have someone who can't join us by Zoom, but did submit one, and that we'll read that one into the record, and that's on 16. Okay. Was there anybody else that was here that wanted to speak in open session? And then when we actually do our public forum, you're still welcome to speak without filling one of these out. So, okay. Want to make sure. And online, is there anybody? Okay. All right. Excellent. So now we're at a time for our meeting with what we call consent agenda items. And those are items that are considered routine in nature. There may be something that we've been versed on in previous meetings. They may be recurring items that come up year after year that, again, we've been plugged into. And we can act in one motion. We can actually have any of those items pulled for a separate discussion. So I specifically want to address item 6 because I requested that one, and I want to make sure everybody understands what we're actually talking about. So I'd like to pull 6. Was there any other item that needed to be pulled? Okay. No items. Okay. All right. I'll entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8. From the Councilman Goodwin, second by Councilman Smith. I'm sorry. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right, that passes 4-0. Okay. So now we'll go back to item 6. Item 6 is so this is approval of an ordinance number 22-040, the City of Red Oak, Texas, amending Chapter 3, Building Regulations, Article 3.04, signs, by amending the section 3.04.002, temporary election signs, subsection B2C, by adding fixing signs to landscape, island, and structures, providing a repealing clause, providing a savings clause, and providing a severability clause, and providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $500 for each offense, and providing an effective date. So I ask that this that our counsel, our legal counsel draft something that, first of all, we already have a ordinance on putting election signs in our right-of-ways, and we've never really enforced it. Is that not correct? Okay, so we've never really enforced it. This past election bond, it kind of went overboard, specifically on our marquee, flagpole, sprinkler system, flower area right there in front of City Hall. And so I asked that this kind of be put in there specifically to limit no signs at all there, because what they did was they kept stacking them up where you couldn't even see our city sign that's up there. And so this ordinance is specifically just for that island, okay? We just don't want them piling signs on. And so that's what I asked to be written up. Not to affect the whole island up down the road, but just that center island here. So, questions or discussion?
How do you enforce ordinance? Is this application in the act?
No, if it's there, we take it down.
Okay, so that was fine.
And if it's gooed, greased, any fashion like that, we call the people that we know put it up, and we have them take it down.
And we'll try to mark it also, so that it let people know that it's,
Yeah. That prohibited to be able to put signs in that center thing. We're talking specifically where the flagpoles are, that little center island.
Okay.
Okay? Hopefully we got this before the signs would go up. I didn't look before we got here today. Unfortunately, I wasn't paying attention. So, anyway, that's all it is.
Well, I really appreciate somebody cleaning that area up out there.
Well, so last year, we had damage to the sprinkler system and the flowers that were put in there, and that cost us money. So that's part of the reason why I wanted that. All right. Entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved.
Second. All right, good one. Drake, second. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, item 9, consider adoption of resolution 22-0093R, the City Council of City of Red Oak, Texas, accepted a voluntary annexation petition and authorizing the setting of a date, time, and place for one public hearing on the contemplation annexation depicted in Exhibit A attached here to and made a part hereof for all purposes annexation area by the City of Red Oak, Texas, authorizing and directing the city staff to publish notice for such hearing with the institution of the annexation proceedings by adoption of annexation ordinance to occur at a regularly scheduled session, city council session, and to prepare a service plan for the annexation area, said annexation area being more particularly depicted in Exhibit A, and providing an effective date. Mr. Hartman?
This area is, if you'll remember the Creekwood subdivision that we talked about earlier this year, it's up at the, near the county line, between Dallas and Ellis County, off of Pratt Road. There is a small portion, about 51 acres and change, along Bear Creek, that is within the city DTJ. And so this request is to set the schedule for the annexation of the property. Back in 2011, the property owner signed what's called a non-annexation agreement. That agreement, to sum it all up, basically says that we would not annex them unless they were ready to develop or turn in a permit or something to develop the property. And so that, we received an application for a plat, And so that triggered the annexation agreement, to occur voluntarily, as per the agreement that was, entered into by the owners at the time, and then recorded at Ellis County for public record.
That same developer of that other piece, or no?
No, they are developing to the north in, Lancaster, CTJ. Developing up, it's an extension of this subdivision. Comes down to here. And so we just have a small portion, along the northern border of the county line.
Was that this guy?
Let me share this on Zoom, I don't think I was sharing it.
Thank you. Okay. And, Alan Atkins, please state your name and,
Yeah.
sure, talk, even though this isn't a public hearing, but please share what you want to share.
So my name is Alan Atkins. I'm with Scarborough Lane Development. We're representing the owners of the property. So the property does go up further north quite a bit. I think what we have is a miscommunication, basically. So Mr. Herman is correct that in 2011, this property, the property owner at the time signed a non-annexation agreement. And it basically stated that if and when he ever took it out of ag, that it basically triggered annexation. So we did not know that. The property was acquired by my client in 2013. It didn't show up on title for some reason, which is a whole other issue. But about in June, we started working with city staff on the submission of our preliminary plat. We had multiple meetings. This was never brought up, never disclosed. We submitted our plat and then got a notice that, well, I guess you guys agreed to annexation. So we are not voluntarily annexing. That's not our intent. We've communicated that with the city attorney. Some nuances to this property. This property is in a mud district. So depending on the legality of that, there is the chance that the city would have to retire the mud district's debt, which is substantial. The property is 51 acres and probably 40 acres of it is floodplain. We just think that maybe there's just a kind of a miscommunication on the value of the property or the intent of the property, or why the city would want to retire our mud bond. So we just would like to have that conversation. We've reached out to the city attorney and.
Okay.
So for tonight, we're just setting the meeting times for the resolutions and public hearings and ordinances. But what I can say is we were not even notified or made aware that the property in our ETJ was trying to be annexed into a mud district. And number two is the purpose of those non-annexation agreements that we did several years ago was because statutorily we had to do that. We were going to annex this property at the time. So if it was in ag use, then we had to give them what's called a non-annexation agreement, which they agreed to. Otherwise, we would have annexed it at that time. So for all practical purposes, it would already be in the city. But for that, we said, since you're not doing anything with it, you're leaving it just undeveloped land, we'll leave it there until you get ready to propose some development there. That's what the agreement was. So that's kind of, from our end of it, that's how we got here. And unbeknownst to us, somehow the mud district got applied into our ETJ without our knowledge.
Okay. So, based on what you heard, Mr. Atkins, we can't really have a discussion on it since it's not a public hearing, but it does call to light, and it does allow us to kind of hear what our stance is. This item specifically is to set those dates, and so that's what we need to proceed with, correct? And, Mr. Hager, that's correct, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
I've been asked to intervene in this, and it's not my place to do so. That's province of the council. I will undertake to have discussions with Mr. Anderson or their legal representatives hereafter.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Your thing has been noted. We'll pass that on, and I'm not sure what happens other than we need to proceed with consider the adoption of these numbers. I think we can discuss this, correct, amongst ourselves, or no? That's not even a discussion, is it?
Well, you probably wouldn't discuss the actual annexation piece. You could discuss the dates and times and so on and so forth. I don't know, Bob might even be able to talk to you in executive session since it's something that's on the agenda. But I'll leave that to him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think it might be appropriate. All we need to do is there is an annexation agreement. They have instigated to develop the property. I understand their position. I hope they understand ours. This is merely to set the hearing. So by that agreement and by state law, we have to set these hearing dates because we really can't have a discussion with them until we undertake to annex the property. And I don't want to do anything to indicate to anybody that we've waived that agreement in any way, shape, or form. So that's why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay. So we have the date set.
Yes, sir. It's set for November, I believe, and we can always extend that date to another date to actually adopt the ordinance if the council wants to do that. Or, but we need to undertake this first step and have the hearing that's required under state law.
So I will entertain a motion to adopt resolution 22-093R. Councilman Drake, Councilman Smith. And before we vote, Bob, is this something that we can get more background information in executive session?
Yeah, I'll set an actual executive session for you at the before the next meeting, and we'll take it up then.
Okay. All right, very good. Those in favor?
One second, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Before we vote, is it strictly to set the meeting?
Yes, so it's
Okay.
set, the public notice is gonna go in the newspaper, utility notice, school district notice, railroad notice, post office, post notice on the website and maintain until the November 14th. So it'll be, all that information has to go on October 26th, and then November 14th is our next meeting.
Got it.
So entertain a vote.
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. Thank you, sorry. That should have been public information, comments. Number 10, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-042, the city of Red Oak, Texas, providing for voluntary annexation of territory generally described as being 88.766 acres, more or less, out of the Allen Larson Survey, abstract number 614 in the city of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein for all purposes to the city of Red Oak, Texas, and extending the boundary limits of the city so as to include said property within the city limits and granting to all inhabitants and owners of the said property all of the rights and privileges of other citizens, and binding all inhabitants by all ordinances, acts, resolution, regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, providing which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing a severability clause and providing an effective date. Mr. Hartman.
This is a voluntary annexation, it's out in the ETJ. There's no plans that I've seen for development yet, they're just voluntarily annexing into the city.
That, at this point, that doesn't actually touch a section, but it's in our ETJ, is that correct?
It's in our ETJ, and it is adjacent to property on which there is a non-annexation agreement, which makes it adjacent. So if you have a non-annexation agreement, that works just like the city.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing, and, I'll open the public hearing at 7:47. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on this item? Anybody online? So this came to you, Hal, Mr. Hartman?
Application was submitted at 6 Secretary's office.
Sorry,
Look forward.
all right, excuse me,
Yes.
which parcel of land is this for?
Mr. Jenkins, I didn't understand what you said.
Jeff, this is 86.876 acre on Farrar Road, our parcel.
Okay, did you have anything you wanted to
Okay,
add?
yes. Yes, we actually submitted a site plan to Ms. Stevens to give you guys a heads up or whatever. But we wanted to see if there was anything else that you guys needed.
Are you speaking, can you see my screen here? Is this on everybody's
Yes, I
screen?
can.
Okay, is this what you're talking about, site plan?
No, no, it was a development plan.
This is the only thing we've received,
Okay,
but if you want to submit that to our development office, please do so. And we can start working with you on site layouts and zoning plans.
yeah, that's exactly what we have. Okay, that's not a problem. I'll get it submitted sometime tomorrow.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mr. Jenkins. Anybody else
Thank you.
online? All right, I'll entertain a motion to close at 7:50.
So moved.
Second. Councilman Franklin. Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0 to close. All right, any questions, council?
No questions.
All right, entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-042.
So moved.
Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye. Drake, aye. Smith, aye.
That passes 4-0. Item 11, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-043 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, providing for the voluntary annexation of the territory generally described as being 110.967 acres, tract 2, more or less, out of the Joel S. Davis Survey, abstract number 323, and the James E. Patton Survey, abstract number 839, in the John S. Patton Survey, abstract number 842, and the John Smith Survey, abstract number 972, the city of Red Oak, ETJ, Ellis County, Texas, as described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein for all purposes to the city of Red Oak, Texas, and extending the boundary of the city limits so as to include said property within the city limits, and granting all inhabitants and owners of said property all the rights and privileges of other citizens and binding all inhabitants by all ordinances, acts, resolutions, and regulations of said city, providing for a service plan, providing, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein by reference, providing the severability clause and providing an effective date. Mr. Hart.
This is, on the edge of, Red Oak Creek. If you look at the map here, you've got the Oaks Church, and then this is Stevenson Road, going through here, and then this, borders, the ETJ of Oakleaf, so, it's somewhere kind of in here, but it's on the north side of Stevenson Road, in between the creek and Stevenson Road. We have received some site plans from the developer, and hope to bring you a zoning case, in December on this. But it's roughly 110 acres.
Okay. All right, this is a public hearing, open public hearing at 7:52. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this public hearing? All right, is there anybody online?
Casey Gregory from Sanchez and Associates, we're the developer that submitted this.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
I appreciate the council for listening to us tonight. Like Mr. Hartman said, we are planning on submitting a zoning case that we hope you will be reviewing here shortly. We are hoping to have this zoned for a mix of residential and a little bit of commercial uses.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there anyone else online to speak on this? Entertain a motion at 7:53 to close this. So moved. Councilman Franklin. Second. Councilman Smith. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right, that's 4-0. Okay, council, you have any questions specifically? No questions. No questions. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-043.
So moved.
Second, Councilman Goodwin. Councilman Drake. Favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right, that passes 4-0. Item 12, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-044, the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from plan development 134, PD 134, to plan development 134 revised PD 134R, provided for revised concept plan on approximately 84.54 acres out of the Lucy Vaughn Survey Abstract number 1103, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty, a fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. Requested by, case number ZC 22-33, requested by Wildwood Development Company, Wadrima.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a request to add 8 more single-family homes to the original subdivision, which had 114 single-family homes. The original PD has a 1.28-acre detention pond on the northeast side of the property. The applicant is proposing to remove this detention pond due to a flood setting. The applicant is proposing to have 50% of the garages be front entry and 50% be side or J suite. The proposed subdivision will have 2 phases, phase 1 on the north with 55 lots and phase 2 on the south with 67 lots. An open space with mailboxes will be centrally located as opposed to its previous location on the east side of the property. The applicant is proposing decorative metal fences to have brick or stone columns at the property corners or at intervals no greater than 120 feet. The layout of the street network has been slightly altered, and the commercial lot has been reduced from 289,416 square feet to 278,479 square feet. The residential density is still less than 2 units per acre, and the minimum lot size is still 21,800 square feet. Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the request with the following recommendations. A flood study which substantiates the request to remove the detention pond. 85% of the garages be side or J-swing entry, and 15% of the garages be front entry as per approved for the original PD. And decorative metal fences shall have brick or stone columns at property corners and intervals at no greater than 50 feet as approved per the original PD. And staff concurs with this recommendation.
So I'll add a couple things there, and just if you want to look at the screen. So this is the location here where there was originally a detention pond, but our drainage design manual does allow, if a downstream analysis is done of the drainage, that we can forgo detention. So they have provided that, and it does indicate that no detention is required. And I am sending that out for a third-party review, right? I can read the report, check all the numbers, but if they pencil with the numbers within the program they use, I can't see that. So I'll send that out to a third party where they can re-enter all the numbers, double-check, and make sure they get the same result. Additionally, in that detention area, we were going to have the mailbox center, because as you guys remember, the post office now wants one central location for the mailbox center. So that's actually been moved more internal to the subdivision, which I like personally, just because now it gives everybody equidistant distance to go to get their mail, and versus it was all over here. So this guy at the front of the subdivision had to go all the way to the back of the subdivision. So to me, this encourages a little bit more walking. I get it, people are still gonna drive there, so they did provide a couple of, parking spaces out in the front. Let me get to a shred of that. This is kind of what the mailbox center will look like. It's got good pedestrian access, a couple of spaces out front. The mailbox center will be covered. They're adding an art element in there, just, for some extra panache in the old subdivision there. The entry features are still there. They did add, they added a life-size sculpture that is on theme with the subdivision at the corner there. So that was one of the things we asked to kind of just make the subdivision have a little more on-theme presence. So additionally, they've gotten the minor layout changes did allow them to add 8 lots to the subdivision. The commercial area was reduced, in terms of just square feet. There's only a few square feet, so that it doesn't really inhibit someone developing that property. It's not like it's hard. They did provide another small HOA area, just with some extra landscaping, just so that this brick wall here wouldn't be so harsh at the end of the subdivision, or at the end of the cul-de-sac. One other thing. So one of their big asks is that we allow them to do 50% front-facing garages. Now, previously, in the previous one, we did 85-15. But in their words, and I'll let them come up and talk about it more, is that it gives the builders more options. So we have less to worry about in terms of anti-monotony standards, because you have a J-swing next to a front entry, you already know, that's a quick review, right? You look at it, boom, not the same, good to go. But at least from a monotony standpoint. So it does, I will agree with them, it does give the builders more options, but I know historically in the city, that's not been something that's been looked on in a good light. So they did provide some of the examples of what they envision, and what they envision I will require, I guess, is kind of the gist of it. So they sent me these pictures and said, these are what we want our front-facing elevations to look like. So to me, yeah, I see nice homes, but what I look at is the elements of the garage. So all the garages they provided were either wood-clad or wood-look, and most of them were separated. They were divided in some way. They did provide
that center column, is that what you mean?
yes,
Okay.
I'm sorry, two
Doors.
standalone doors, yeah.
Sure.
They did provide one, which was, again, it was a single bay, but a double car garage. But it is clearly wood clad in the picture, but most of them are divided. So I guess if I look at this and I make a determination of what the front entries are gonna look like, I would say I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pictures, so that means 20% will have columns, 20% will be one double bay, and 80% will be, dual bay. They did not say that, but based on these pictures that I've provided, that's the assumption I would come to. And that they would also be either wood clad, most of these are wood clad, and have some kind of hardware on them, or, like I believe this one is more of it's actually a stamped steel, but it's more of a wood look, but it does have windows as well associated with it. So and I'll let them come up here and tell me if that's what they're saying or not saying, but if they're saying that, I guess I wouldn't mind having these as front entry garages. But I'll let you guys discuss that. I did want to bring up one point over here on these. So if we kept with the 85-15, these over here would all still be, these would all be J-swing, and the reason for that is because there's a drainage easement back here that will need, there's an existing kind of draw, so these would all be J-swing along this property line, but the front building line is less than it is in the rest of the subdivision. It's 20 feet versus the rest of the subdivision is 30 feet. But if you look at at these entries here, these setbacks are much closer to that 30-foot mark than what you would typically see in the neighborhoods that I assume that this idea came from, is that we don't like front entries because they're so close up to the house and people are parking in front of the garage and overhanging the sidewalk and this, that, and the other. But these are actually 30 feet, which is, standard cars, takes up 20 feet for, like a truck. I think that's about it. If you have any questions, let me know, but I'll let them kind of speak on it.
This gives them more options. The only option it gives them is more lots. Is that correct?
Are you talking about the layout?
Yeah.
Front garage.
It gives them more lots, right?
It gives them
Oh,
more.
I'm sorry, yeah, so right now, the current zoning only allows 15% of the lots to be front entry, and their request is that they want 50% of the lots to be front
I
entry.
don't see any rear entry lots on that diagram.
Right, so this diagram is just showing the front entries
What they would like.
that they would propose, so
But I mean, in the outline, where are you having the rear entry garages on that
Won't
layout?
be any J-swings.
J-swings, there's no rear entries. because
No
there's-
You
because
could
there's
do
no
rear
alley.
entry, it's just not alley loaded.
But what does it say, is this originally a rear entry?
No.
No, it was originally J-string, or, it could be a rear entry, it's just not alley loaded rear entry. So you can still have a long driveway that goes in the back and then, enter through the back side of the house. But the original was, J or side or rear.
My understanding is that most of it was 85 rear, 15.
No, it's 85 J side or rear, and then 15% front entry.
But he's saying or rear, but there's zero rear.
There's zero rears.
Well, there might be, we don't know.
Yeah,
There's
There's
zero
no alley.
doors from alley.
Yeah.
No alley.
No alley anywhere.
But you can go with
Right,
it.
you'd have a long driveway that goes all the way down the side of the house, and then you turn into the back of the house. There's no alleys, there's no alley loading.
They got a feeling they're gonna be missed, very interesting.
Well,
But there never has been.
But, but they're allowed, they're allowed nonetheless.
so then we're gonna have the first 8 lots at 20 feet, and then you're gonna do a 10-foot drop off to allow 30 feet?
No.
Did I hear that correctly?
Sorry, so these lots here, 2 through 11, there's a drainage easement in the back.
Right.
And so we wanted to, be able to still fit the septic system and still allow the homes to get like pools and a cabana and a, fire pit in the back. And so what we did to, help that was allow them to push the home up to the 20-foot mark on just these lots. But these would all be J-swings, none of these J-swings rear or side, none of them would be front entry along this side of the road. And it's a lot fitment deal where we push the house up so that you can have maximum backyard space for, because they're all on septic, so they gotta have room for the septic, but we also wanted to have room to build a pool and have an accessory building or something.
But continuity of the block space will be disturbed after that block 8 or so, because you're gonna go from 10 now to 30.
20 to 30, so it's only a 10-foot difference.
I'm sorry, a 10-foot difference, so you're gonna see a 10-foot drop once you get past those blocks you're referring to.
No, because then it's a road.
Well, there's a road there, right there.
Okay, so that's the break.
It's just one side of the street,
Okay.
and then this side is 30. So yes, these homes will be 30-foot back, and these will be 20-foot back. And it's not a build-to line, it's a minimum build line.
Right.
So if they wanted to set it back further, because they have
I'm sure they're not gonna set it back
a
there.
2-story,
Yeah,
I know,
I'm sure
they
they're
never
not.
do. But it's not a build-to line, it's a minimum front yard line.
On a different note, your front entrance, garages, where would they be adjacent to this? Would it be scattered or?
They could be anywhere, as long as the same ones are not right next to each other. Right? So you could have 2 front entries, garages next to each other, but they would have to look substantially different based on the anti-monotony standard.
It kind of goes against our traditional.
Right, it does, and I told them that, but they thought with these elevations, that
Beautiful.
we would look past it. So I told them I'd show them to you.
All right, so we'll be able to discuss this here in a little bit more. Let's kind of hear, since this is a public hearing, let's go ahead and open the public hearing at 8:10. And, because I too have some questions, and we'll discuss that after. So, Judge, yeah. I apologize, I forgot your name, it's been a long time, I slept.
Mayor, council, staff, thank you for allowing us to be here. My name is Stephen Utrecht. I represent Wildwood Development. This is our second time around, so we appreciate you hearing our case again.
I do apologize for interrupting.
Yes, sir.
But speakers do need to address their name and address for the record.
No problem.
As well.
My name is Stephen Utrecht. I live at 3748 Pinecrest Drive, Dallas, Texas.
Thank
Yes, sir. And so to give you the overview of the project, we have adjusted the roadways. We have kind of just moved things around, obviously, as mentioned by Mr. Hartman. And we are removing the detention pond due to the downstream analysis. Now, the biggest thing we've done is create a community center that really serves the entire community. It's something that we have placed into the middle of the development. It's something that's not only going to be a mailbox center, but, a place where we can, drop the kids for the bus. And we're going to have a permanent roof structure over that mailbox, and that's something that'll provide a shelter for them during the elements, or just an opportunity for them to hang out while waiting for the bus. Not only for the children, but for the adults, and hopefully, they will walk, But if they don't, maybe they'll park their cars and, you know, sit on the bench and, you know, and enjoy a little camaraderie and conversation. So for us, we feel like that's one of our biggest positives, you know, adjustments that we've made. And yes, we've enhanced the corner sign with a life-size on-theme statue. We placed some, you know, artwork into the community center just to make it representative of the type of development we want here in Red Oak. Now, as far as the J-swing versus front entry, our only goal is to give this community different elevations and have the builder have that opportunity to provide different elevations. You know, at the 8515, especially when we have 10 of those lots already set aside for J-swing, it does make it tough, you know, for us to have different elevations and to give this a unique, you know, premium feel that we want for not only our development, but for the city of Red Oak. Now, as far as the front entry garages are concerned, we have put into the PD that, you know, into our plan development that, yes, the carriage style garages, the wood look, you know, that is something that we envision and absolutely agree with. Now, I can't guarantee that there'll be columns between each bed. You know, that is something that we will work with, you know, on the builders to implement that, but it's not something that I can stand in front of you and say, absolutely, 80% of those front entry garages will have that. You know, I obviously.
Could you say it again?
That I can't stand here in front of you and guarantee you that 80% of the front entry garages will have a stone column or some sort of dividing line between the two garage bays. Now, you know, it will be a two-car garage, of course, and it is something that we're just bringing before you as an opportunity for us to discuss it with you. To kind of let you know our intention is not to put all front entry or not to put all J-swing, but it's just to give you, you know, the diversity, the different elevations that you all are looking for and that we would like to provide. That is our only intention or goal with the 50-50 front entry versus side entry J-swing.
So, okay.
Okay, so you're asking 50-50.
Yes, sir.
As far as the front entrance. NZ is requesting 15, or our engineers is requesting 1585.
Yes, sir.
What if, what happens if we go against the 15? What happens if that's not feasible? Then what?
Well, I mean, it's not going to break the development. You know, it would make it more difficult to give you the different elevations and to make everything more unique. It would make it impossible, you know, so perhaps 85-15 doesn't work for you, but maybe 70-30 works for you, or 60-40 works for you. You know, so.
My argument is that, and I apologize for interrupting, my argument is, as long as I've been on council, the city itself, Red Oak, has, we've been, I guess, more against front entrance as far as our city, beautiful city, and me personally don't want to start breaking that down. And nothing, I mean, they're beautiful. I've been looking at these homes and I've studied it, and you know, I said they're gorgeous, but at the same time, my argument is we're going against our tradition, a way of building, you know, and that's my only objection to that. But you know, I want to stand behind my city as well and my leaders, you know, and you know, so you know, again, that's just my opinion. But you know, so that's why I'm arguing.
But, and I appreciate you opening the dialogue.
Yes. Well,
of course. Now, first things first, I want to tell you that these two have been wonderful to work with, and we have had, it's really been truly a pleasure for us to work with them, and so we feel like we're partnering with them, and just like we want to partner with you. Now, I think what makes our development a little different, it is a half-acre lot. You know, it's a bigger lot. It is not that traditional, 40, 50, 60-foot lot. This is an estate-style home. So I think with that in mind, it gives us the flexibility to have either or, and it still be something that's nice. The car's not gonna be, blocking the sidewalk. It's, you're not gonna get an up-close and personal view to, everybody's personal space inside the garage, whether it looks beautiful or it's just a storage unit. So we all have that neighbor that has nothing but junk in the garage. So even if that's the neighbor, it is such that the lot would allow it not to be, so readily able to be seen. So not to, just an open conversation, not so much to argue back and forth, but that's kind of where our thought.
I get it. I understand, and I thank you for explaining that.
Yes, sir.
On a different note, have you guys have considered, the mailbox security in the evening, late evenings, when people get off work, lighting?
Absolutely, and with that being said, we have, committed to doing ground lighting, in that area. We're not gonna do super bright overhead lighting, that's not to, affect the neighbors, but yes, sir. We have, already discussed that, with your staff, and 100%. We intend to do ground lighting, because like I said, we want it to be a communal space, whatever the time of day may be.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so, since this is still part of that public hearing, is there anybody else here that wants to speak on this? Yep,
And
okay.
I want to ask on the,
Sure, you bet. Ms. Morgan, if you'd step up. Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
My name's Mandy Morgan. I live at 868 FM 2377, which is directly across 2377 from this building that they're going to be putting in. And actually, in that corner, they have it zoned for commercial use. I have been there since the beginning of 2020. In the last year, I've had to call the sheriff's office 4 different times for people running off the road and going through my front yard, which is a good 30 feet back from the road, knocked down my fence twice, take out 4 of my mailboxes, ran through not only my yard, but my neighbor to the right and my neighbor on the left. The one on the left, if she had been home, they would have plowed into her truck parked directly in front of her garage. I have 4 dogs. We have been blessed with the fact that my dogs have not been hit when people have run off the road and into the yard. I had an ambulance during the last snowstorm almost take out my mailbox because there was an accident at 2377 and Pratt Road. Pratt Road itself needs to be repaired. I know they're out there repairing it now. It's not any better. And I know that they're talking about repaving Vincent for everybody. Everybody's going to be coming in from that direction. But if you think about 122 houses with 2 cars at each house, that's 250 extra people going through this area every day. And I have been told by TxDOT, because after the second time they came out to replace my mailbox, within less than a month, the curb is not excessive enough to get a guardrail put in. Curb's not excessive enough, and the speed limit is not there. But because one side is county and one side is city, nobody can really sit there and watch the speed limit. It's 55 through there, but I hear people going through at like 70, 80 miles an hour. I have problems getting out of my driveway. I have people that, as I'm pulling into my driveway, almost rear-ended. But there has been no traffic study, and you're wanting to put in 122 houses to increase the traffic through that area when there's already problems there. Not to mention everybody coming from Ferris from the other direction. And that's our biggest concern. And then you're putting all these people in there, and you're putting in septic tanks and whatever else they want. There's already problems with flooding down in that area. It's just going to get worse. I understand that we want to bring people into Red Oak. I really do. But to me, this seems a little far stretching out there. There are other subdivisions that are being built closer to town and piecemeal going out. This one is way out there in the middle of the country. And these people that buy these homes are also not going to be happy with the fact that we're country. We're still going to set off fireworks. We're still going to shoot our guns. And we can do that because we live in the county. And so that's just additional stuff of those people calling because they hear this and they don't know where it's coming from. And that's extra stuff on police force. You know, we've also had people being in the country, and since we've been there, where people have tried to break into our neighbors' houses, coming through the properties in the back. You know, they don't bother my house because I have 4 dogs. But, you know, that's something that I think needs to be thought about a little more before they start doing this. Because that's way more traffic for everybody.
Thank you, Ms. Morgan. And I understand you're gonna come back up on 13.
Yes.
Yes, Judge, go ahead.
My name's Chad Adams. I live at 1360 Trophy Court West in Midlothian, Texas. I represent Wildwood Development. I know Steve brought up a few things about the front garage door entry. I just want to reiterate, you know, that these will be wood front garage doors, and any kind of variance or that, you know, percentage increase that you guys could give us, I mean, we sure would appreciate that, because it does allow for a little bit more creativity in the development. But at the same time, you know, when we put on our public and consistent hat, you know, we understand that 15% is what it's been historically, you know, for the city of Red Oak, and so we understand that position. But I think we do set ourselves apart a little bit more by it being a larger lot, and any consideration that you would give on that, we sure would appreciate, allowing a little bit more flexibility on the design, you know, of the homes in that area.
Is there anybody else here, person or online, that wishes to speak? Okay, I'll entertain a motion to close that public hearing at 8:24. So, Councilman Franklin, second. Councilman Smith, those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right. That passes 4-0. Okay. So, I heard a couple things I want to kind of clarify and verify. So this subdivision is going to have sidewalks, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Does it have the open drainage ditches?
No, it's curb and gutter.
It's okay, curb and gutter, okay. And so part of that drainage study that you're submitting out, it's all downstream, but they have to be able to handle their own flooding, correct?
Right, yeah, so the storm drain system will collect all of their runoff, and then it's going out to the low point in the development, which is an existing creek area, so.
To the east.
Yes, and so what we want them to do, and what we asked them to do, and they did, was go down to the next point of, where I thought it was gonna be an issue, is down here at this, if you look at your map, there's a creek crossing down here at 983, and that's ultimately where the drainage goes, and so there's a bridge down there. I wanted to make sure there was not gonna be no, backup, and that the water was not gonna get above the bottom stringer, and it still had, if I just remember off the top of my head, I think it still had 2 feet, before it got to the bottom stringer. But when I look at those reports, you know, the things that I'm looking for are terms like no adverse impacts and no rise on adjacent property, things like that. And it said that, but again, I send it off so that someone can do, put it back into a program, double check all the numbers.
Okay. How much further down is that?
So the development's here, their storm drain will likely release somewhere here, comes here, takes a turn, gets into this creek system, and then into this system, which then travels on down to the main system.
Can you show me where Ms. Morgan's, even though she's not in the city limits, about that area?
You are on this corner, right, Ms. Morgan?
Right, yeah, it's 3 of us right there in the corner.
Yeah, they're right here on the other side of the road.
And so with this development, even though there's commercial there, and that study takes in if that's solid concrete for the development.
Yeah, so this whole development actually drains to the east, so.
So none of her flooding comes from that development, and by putting in curb and gutter, it forces everything else the opposite direction.
Yes, and so And that's all based on the contours I've received from the engineers.
I'm trying to answer her question
Yeah,
to make sure that we're all on the same page, so everybody's hearing it,
right.
okay?
Okay.
All right, and that it's got sidewalks, and so the visit with the school district is that all those kids are gonna be picked up at that center area, and that's been approved by the district, not at the end of the,
We haven't discussed it with the school, that's just our vision as part of what the community center would provide.
okay, all right. So that's a curve line right there, right? That's the high peak.
Yeah, I just wanted to show this drainage area map. So this is the existing drainage patterns right now with the subdivision laid in. So it all drains, all these dark black arrows
Right.
are where it all drains right now. And then the proposed, it'll still all drain into the systems, and then ultimately, all these arrows are pointing into the street, which goes into the storm drain system, which ultimately, releases down here. So there's not any water being diverted towards their homes, which are here.
Now, what about the homes that are around it, like the one to the south,
So
against that edge right there? What about her property?
So those all drain, if you, I can't really see the contours here, I can zoom in a little. So some of it does, so that you follow the contours perpendicular.
Mm-hmm.
So some of it is kind of draining, but it looks like there's maybe an old farmer's ditch here on the property line that already kind of, takes it that way. So if you look
But is that going to remain when they go to start building?
So if you look here, I don't know if you can see that. You see these dark arrows? So that black line will be the line that everything drains into the street from there. So they're containing all of their drainage on their
All
side.
their drainage to their
Yeah, so what'll happen out there, you'll see it when they're doing construction, the streets get cut in, and they get cut in way lower than the adjacent grades.
Right.
Because they then drain all the lot into the street, which then is picked up by the storm drain system and channeled down to.
Yeah, because there's about 4 or 5 of us in there that are very concerned about this whole thing.
So,
Sure.
so by law, they can't put flooded water into somebody else's area. They
Right,
have to account for
yeah, I
that.
just wanted to make sure, because I've had a house built before, I just wanted to make sure that ditch was going to remain there.
Or it'll be enhanced,
Right, yeah, that's what I was wanting to make sure.
yeah.
Okay.
All right, did P and Z see those elevations? Did they see everything, or was there
They
information?
did not see the frontage. So
Okay.
we talked about it, and then, they made the ask, and then I received these after P and Z, because I said, if you want to have a shot with council, you need to show them what you're talking about, because you didn't show it to the P and Z.
And what was their take? So P and Z and staff is still the 85-15.
That's what was approved previously, so we're always recommending that what was already approved to be approved.
Okay.
But we did want to present this and show this. They asked, and they're asking for less. They're not lying. It does allow for more options. But it's up to you guys.
Sure.
I wrote, while he was talking, I wrote down some other ideas. You know, if they wanted to do, maybe you don't want to do 50-50, maybe it is 80-20, 70-30, whatever. But then on top of that, you know, he said, I don't know if I commit to the column separation. Well, maybe of the, you know, say it's 30%, of the 30% that are gonna be frontage, 50% of those have to have a column, you know, or something like that, so that we're getting something more like this.
So how are you, so, I agree, I mean, if they have one door and with no column, you know, it kind of goes back to what we were trying to prevent, overall, so.
Right.
And again, I think that
Yeah, you should have the
dimensional,
articulation as well, so it
That's
could
right.
be, I mean, we can write up all kinds of stuff.
Well, I would like to see some type of commitment. They're asking us to reduce our standards for our city, and our simple ask is for a column. I feel like that's a reason for that.
Yeah, so I'll tell you what I've heard from other builders, and they've probably heard the same thing from the builders, is that a hard sell to people because they have a harder time like pulling in like their big Suburban or truck in there. I don't know that I agree with it, I've never lived in one that had that, so I don't know, but that's what I've heard from other builders. But it looks way nicer, so I would tend to agree to just say, well, let's do it. Let's have the columns on there, but maybe not all of them. You know, again, that's, if you're gonna allow some front entry, then maybe say, okay, maybe we need to have 50% be articulated with separate columns, and then 50% could just have a standard double garage door.
I'm okay with that.
So, and then there's also ways to make sure that, you know, a big part of why we don't want the garages front facing is that on a smaller lot, it takes up the entire elevation. So you look at the front of a house and it's like, great garage, where's the rest of the house, right?
Right.
So we could do something like, require a maximum percentage of the front elevation, you know, only be 30% of the entire front elevation. You know, a garage can only take up 30% of the front elevation. And that would get you something, you know, more, like this, that is, you know, I don't know what that percentage is, 25, 30, but it gets you that big ranch estate spread. So if you wanted to do something like that, you know, that's just another idea I wrote down.
Okay. Could you go back to the flat mounts? So, our discussion earlier about the one side of the road is at 20 feet, cross street is at 30 feet. Council, it's just, the continuity of the block just doesn't sit right with me on that. Is it possible to introduce, so on the east side is 20 feet, right? West side is 30 feet. Is it possible to put both of those at 20 to make it look uniform?
Yeah.
Just for that particular street?
Do whatever we want, yeah. But I would say that we would not want any front entries on that street then, because at 20 feet, you are dangerously, you know, close to overhang.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the sidewalk. So I would say, if you want to do that, for the continuity's sake, I would say that those all need to be J or rear side entry garages.
Because that is one of the main entries. Is it correct?
It is and it isn't, so here, let me show you on the map.
That makes sense.
So Vincent, you know, so that entrance is like right here, and so Vincent stops right here, it literally turns into a dirt road after that, so, it already is a dirt road. So they're gonna improve it up to the edge of the development, and that entry would be about right here. So while it is an entry, I wouldn't call it a main entry. I would venture a guess that the only people that are gonna use that access point are maybe these last lots and obviously these lots.
Okay, so that's a reasonable ask for those to be Jason.
Sure.
Since it's not a curb appeal or a major entryway to sell houses.
Sure.
So what did we approve previously?
85,
And you show it, you have a
yeah.
So I guess what I'm kind of struggling, so a lot of this, and maybe it was, or maybe it wasn't, was this all not hammered out before SDNZ?
The garage issue?
Yeah, the numbers and things like that. I don't think we should be trying to figure out.
Right, but if we increase that, all those, what was there, 15 houses?
It's an extra.
8. Well, it's the other side, if we make it all the J swing on the other side, that just ups their percentage already.
Sure.
So you just made, what, however many houses was on that picture on both sides? 22.
So in essence, what's happening is they seemingly don't have to do the detention pond, so that allows them to get 8 additional lots.
Right.
So they're coming back to get zoning to get 8 additional lots. And in the meantime, while we're coming back to get the 8 additional lots, why don't we just ask for this additional front entry garages? And staff said no, and P and Z said no, and but we're still presenting it to you guys to see if y'all want to say something different.
P and Z said no?
They wanted to stay with the 85-15.
Well,
So they're fine with a number of lots and the other changes, you know, but they didn't want to do the 85-15. I mean, they wanted to stay with the 85-15.
We just up the number of percentage, because if we change it,
We change it.
if we change those, how many houses there, was that 10? Plus the 8 they're added, so we just added, what, 15% of them? Gonna be J Twins right there,
On that street.
on that whole street, right?
So,
Turn it down.
Misters,
Yeah, they didn't turn that down the case, they just recommended to you guys that you stick with the 85-15.
right, okay.
And I certainly, excuse me, I certainly don't wanna mean to interrupt, but as we don't have the builder here to kind of negotiate whether it'll have column or double doors or single, or 2 different doors, you know, it really, we would, at this point, feel comfortable just going with the 85-15 as recommended by P and Z and staff, you know, as we don't have the builder here, you know, and we certainly don't want to negotiate on the builder's behalf, because they may be like, no, Steve, that's not possible. So, at this point, we appreciate you considering, you know, our request, and thank you for taking it seriously. We are happy to go back with the 85-15.
Thank you, sir. Do you still need to see that, Ben? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
So back to her question.
Sorry, sir, the public hearing's already closed, so I can't let you back in. And I apologize. Yes, can I reopen it? No, I'm sorry. Can't do that.
But back to her question about 2377, that little curve right there. Is that us or is that TxDOT?
The road is.
The road itself.
Is state road.
The curved part is.
And she's in the county side, but we can't, it's not, we can't even put anything up there to help.
You talking about on the south side of the
Yeah,
road?
the south
That's
side.
correct. That's not our jurisdiction.
No, they don't.
I'm sorry, the Pratt Road is going, right, don't share
The
that.
Pratt Road would be,
Right, and it's like that.
Part of Pratt Road would be.
So the traffic off of Pratt doesn't.
oh, but will the developer improve Pratt Road?
That was my opinion. I think the development would help that.
So I don't recall that discussion. Do you?
The developer's not doing anything, it's already on our schedule to, do a full depth, reclamation on Pratt Road along that section, in next year.
Next year.
Yeah, so next fiscal year.
So before the development goes in.
Most likely, before any houses are going up or occupied, it's highly likely that we would be doing that project. Sure.
Council, you good? All right. Staff, you want to add anything else? Okay. Entertain a motion, and the motion that we have in front of us is to approve ordinance 22-044, which is actually the staff recommendations and P and Z recommendations. Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's the way it's worded.
85-15?
Yes.
All right. I'll entertain that motion.
So moved.
Councilman Goodwin. Second was Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. Yep. Okay, item 13, consider approval of preliminary plat of proposed plan development, 134 revised PDR, 134R for 122 single-family homes, associated open spaces, and 1 commercial lot on approximately 84.54 acres out of the Lucy Vaughn Survey Abstract Number 1103, further described as being generally located on the southeast corner of Vinson Lane and Pratt, the city of Red Oak, Texas, requested by Wildwood Development.
This is a request for a preliminary plat for the Hunters Ridge PD that was just made a motion on for approval.
So this is, stuff that we've been discussing.
Correct.
Yes, it's just, so they previous, sorry,
I think you're on the last
here.
month's, aren't you?
So there was a preliminary plat done previously for the other layout, and so because they're changing the layout, they're gonna redo the preliminary plat. And they've also, as Emma mentioned, they've added a phase line here. So they've got two phases. I'll let them speak to their plan. So you can build two phases at once, or you could do it in phase one or phase two, and that's kind of how we would break up the admin level of doing the plats, is they could come in and do this first phase, which would include the big entry feature at the corner, the big, grand entry feature, as well as the, common area with the mailbox and stuff. So that first phase would include all of those things, as well as Benson Lane.
So is that, also to include the Benson Lane as the second phase, so they'll stop at that first entrance, or will they complete that all the way through? Or do you know?
It'll have the entrance off of Pratt and the entrance off of Benson.
But the improvements to Vincent itself, are they?
I'll let them speak to that on their timing, but it would have to be done to at least the
phase
line,
first phase.
plat. Yeah.
Okay. Council, do you have any questions? No questions. Okay. Just consider approval of this. This is a routine thing that's done in developments, correct?
Yes, this is just the first step in the plat process, is that your preliminary plat. It doesn't get filed, it's just a planning document to let us know, here are the phases, here's what we plan to do, then we'll turn in construction plans for the final plat for each phase.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the preliminary plat.
So moved.
Councilman Franklin, second was Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
So that's 4-0. I'm sorry, so.
It's not a public hearing.
Yeah, so that one wasn't a public hearing, but since you talked on the other one,
Well, I do have a question because of something he just said. There's an entrance on Pratt Road, I thought that was closed, and that was an area where they were putting green space, so that the cul-de-sac there wasn't.
That's at the back of the commercial, so if you can look up the screen here, so you've got the commercial lot here, and then this cul-de-sac, that dead ends into it, and they're doing a green, space right here at the end of the cul-de-sac.
Okay, but there's also an entrance on Pratt Road?
Yes, it's about
that's a main entrance.
200 plus 280, it's about, look, just shy of 400 feet from the
intersection?
From the intersection.
Yeah, it just raises the whole thing you're putting. Okay. If you're gonna redo Pratt Road,
All public hearings, yeah.
Sorry, ma'am.
And that has not changed from what was already approved.
That's correct. That's,
okay.
so it's different. You talked on 12 and not 13.
Well, it was fine, and there was, I didn't realize that was an entrance there, so I didn't get to speak about that either, but thanks.
All right. Item 14, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-045, the City of Red Oak, Texas, amending comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting the zoning, a change in zoning from agricultural AG to planned development 128 revised, PD 128R, to add real property, lot 14, block C of the Bomar, acres being block C, Bomar Acres subdivision located in the southeast corner of the Hillcrest Lane and Orillo Road, City of Red Oak, Texas, as provided in Exhibit A, attached here to and incorporated herein, providing the revised survey and planning and plan development standards attached hereto as Exhibits B through C respectively, which are attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. Case ZC 22-31, requested by Ahmed Fitchi. Okay, thank you. Dr. Evans.
This is a request to extend the boundary of PD 128 on lot 15, block C, to lot 14, block D. The septic that will serve lot 15 will be located on lot 14. Septic cannot be located on a separate lot from the property that it serves. Lot 14 and 15, block C currently have two different zoning districts. A plat cannot create a lot that has two different zoning districts. There are no other proposed changes except to extend the boundary of PD 128 to lot 14. Staff recommends approval of the request as presented, and the Planning and Zoning Commission also recommended approval.
Where's that located?
It's on the corner of Ovilla and Hillcrest.
What?
Hillcrest.
Hillcrest and Ovilla.
Where's Hillcrest? West, east?
It's on,
On the southeast corner.
it's on the west side of 35.
Okay, all right.
So I'll kind of jump into with this lot configuration of the technicals that happened. So they came in, they got their zoning approved for their auto loop shop, and they had it on one lot. And at the time, you know, I mentioned sewer. Sewer is located over here in this draw, and they would kind of just assume that they would work something out with the landowner to get their sewer connected over there. They did not do that. So when they submitted an application, they submitted an application with a septic system, but the septic system was located on a different lot. So we can't permit a septic system not on the lot that is serving the structure. So they had a septic system as its own thing on one lot, and then they had the business on the other lot, which we just can't permit. So what we told them they needed to do was amend the plat and remove the lot line that goes down the middle so that they could just make one big lot. But the problem with that is we can't adhere to a plat standard because it's got two different zoning designations on it. So this zoning request basically just applies PD 128 to the entirety of that corner so that we can plat them into one lot. And so they're not changing anything about their use or their building or anything like that. It's just a mere technicality so that we can allow them to permit a septic system on a single lot that serves the business that the septic is actually being put in for. So a little cumbersome of an explanation, but I think the gist of it is that nothing is changing from what was previously approved, and this is merely kind of a technicality to allow them to have sewer on their site. So if you'll remember, it's an auto lube shop, detention in the back, parking all around, and then they were going to leave this open for future development. That's where the septic system will go. The septic system can be taken out of service if sewer gets extended up there, and then that lot could be, or that portion could be redeveloped with the zoning change coming back forward to you guys. That was hard to follow. Let me know, and I can go over it again.
Okay. So this is a public hearing, so the time is 8:51, and we'll open this public hearing. Is there anybody here to speak on this, public hearing? Is there anybody online to speak on this public hearing? Entertain a motion at 8:52 to close this public hearing. So move. Councilman Franklin. Second. Councilman Smith. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. Smith, aye. All right, that closes at 8:52, 4-0. All right, you know, at some point, they're gonna have to get on sewer. You know, I think it'd probably be better sooner than later, but, I guess there's not a high sewer rate in the auto industry, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have basically a bathroom in there with like a hand sink, and that's kind of it.
Green over there. Yeah. Okay. So, council, any questions? No questions. All right. Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-045.
So moved.
I think that was Goodwin.
Drake.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Second.
No. Drake, Smith. Sorry. Those in favor? Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. Okay, item 15, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-046 of the city of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the city of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from commercial 1C1 to plan development 47, PD 47, to allow for a commercial use on a property located on the southeast corner of Water Street and Waller Street, as identified as 100 Waller Street, City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, and said property being more particularly described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for a site plan, parking elevation, landscape plan, plan development standards, and use list as Exhibit B through F respectively, attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing a repealing clause, providing a severability clause, providing a savings clause, providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. This is case ZC 22-32, requested by Gene Bond. Dr. Henry.
This is a request to rezone the property from Commercial District 1 to Plan Development 147 to allow for the proposed landscaping to serve as a required landscaping on site. In an effort to provide some greenery and aesthetic appeal to the site, the applicant is proposing planter boxes as shown on the attached pictures. The allowed uses for the site is also being revised to ensure that future uses will benefit the city's historic downtown area. The applicant is requesting the parking requirement for restaurant be changed from one parking space per 75 square feet to one parking space per 165 square feet. This proposed amendment to the parking requirement for a restaurant would leave the site underparked by more than 50% of the city's requirements. There have been discussions concerning the possibility of converting the vacant property to the north to a parking lot to support the current and future uses in the downtown area. If this is the case, it is recommended that the site enter some sort of agreement or parking agreement with the lot to the north if a restaurant does occupy this building. Planning and Zone Commission concurred with staff's recommendation.
Okay. This is a public hearing. At 8:56, we'll open it. Is there anyone here who wishes to speak on item 15? Oh, please go ahead and step up, state your name and your address.
Okay, my name is Gene Bond. Address is 5435 Cripple Creek Circle, Midlothian, Texas. I'm the owner of this building. It was built in 1923. And, it's a very unique property, as many of you probably know, the whole downtown area is very unique. Majority of the property is, non-pervious surfaces, so concrete parking lot. There's a gravel alley, in between this building and the adjacent buildings. So as far as the 2017 zoning landscaping requirements, that were put in place, the property would be extremely challenging to ever meet those requirements. So, we're just basically asking to change the zoning. And I've learned a lot working with the city engineer and P&Z, have educated me on this process. So we're just gonna hopefully change the zoning so that we can, not have to worry about the, planting of trees and such, on that property. There's just nowhere to plant, unfortunately. But we are gonna make an effort to, add some planters to the front of the building, as long as it doesn't hinder accessibility. For example, they would be in between the building and the street on the sidewalk. The property line is down the middle of the sidewalk. And so, a lot of consideration is gonna be, put on if someone in a wheelchair were to try to access the building, just to make sure we're not pushing them closer to the street than what would be safe. And then as far as the parking, right now, the use of the building, the parking is fine. There's no issues, as far as the number of spaces, for the use. But I see in the future a possibility to make this more of an attraction or a destination, and if that would to come into fruition, the lot across the street would, probably be necessary in order for us to provide the amount of parking that would be required to accommodate that kind of destination. And working with Ben and Emma, we've also discussed the potential of creating a dual access parking lot, which would create a better flow and be a safer environment. That would involve, Ben, correct me if I'm wrong, that would involve the easement behind the building there, and creating an access way so that you could have a through traffic scenario. Those are longer term objectives or goals, but I would like to just throw them out there now just so we can all start thinking about it. But I appreciate everyone's time. Thank you.
What are you gonna put in there? What kind of business you talking about putting in?
Well, in the future, you know, we've discussed maybe a diner of sorts, a place where people can come, maybe if you're a high school teacher or a counselor or even a member of the city staff, you know, a place to go to for lunch and just sit down and relax. This building has some notoriety because it was in the movie Bonnie and Clyde. It was the Mineola Bank building in the movie. And so they dressed this building up for those movie scenes and utilized downtown Red Oak, historic town Red Oak, for that movie. So it's kind of cool. So I had a vision of maybe like a Bonnie and Clyde themed coffee company or something that would be really unique, to bring more people and more interest to this area, which is, frankly, right now at this time, a pretty slow-paced environment, which is fine. This is a great area. It's very unique. I've learned a lot, meeting a lot of the neighbors. It's a very strong community. The individual business owners in that area work really well together. They accommodate each other. If there's ever a need for additional parking, they offer up their parking spaces when necessary. So I've seen a really good ecosystem here for communities working together and people working together within Red Oak. So it's always pleasing to see that. Another idea, we have a list of uses, Ben, if you don't mind, if you can pull that up. These are really no different than what's already zoned as far as C1. Matter of fact, it's more of a limited list than what's currently on the property. The planned development purpose is solely just to not be going against the current zoning ordinances for landscaping. Those were put in place in 2017, like I mentioned. But it could be a bakery, it could be a florist, a variety of different uses.
And Gene, just so that everybody knows, you do own that vacant lot to the north of the property. If we did have to get into a situation where that parking was needed.
Yes, sir. The ownership of that lot is a business, but I own the business. the church is still there. Is the church still in that building?
That's correct. There was a church there. They applied for a CO, right when COVID hit, unfortunately. And, it's a learning experience for them. But they're a great steward of the property, a wonderful tenant, and they, really truly take pride in that building. It serves their purpose as a very small congregation. I've actually discussed with them doing a little bit more outreach in the community, maybe involving, our community services, police force, fire department, maybe have like a day where we block off a city street and just cook some hot dogs and invite people to come out and learn more about, everyone. So I think there's opportunities for that. But yeah, they're anxious to continue serving in that building, and I hope that they continue to stay there as long as they like. Eventually, I would expect them to outgrow the building, and so that's what I would hope for them, to find a new facility. And I'm actually working to try to find them a larger facility for their church if it does, continue to grow or grow at all. So,
Thank you very much.
thank you.
Anyone else here to speak on this? Anybody online? Right. Entertain a motion at,
Mayor,
sorry,
find out Mr. Gene's last name, I didn't hear your last.
Bond.
Bond.
B-O-H-N.
Oh, thank you.
At 9:03 to close this public hearing.
So moved.
Councilman Franklin. Great. Second. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
I think that was an aye for me.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. So, so right now, it's under an SUP if there's a church there and they have a CO.
They don't have a CO. That's what triggered the whole thing, is they applied for a CO. We do our CO review, and it doesn't meet any of the requirements for ICA.
Which side of the church, right where your corner is going?
Yeah, it's in that
Red
building.
building.
Yeah, the whole building.
Yeah.
All right. And the applicant is seeking to do something that sounds like unique with the other side of the building? Did I hear that correctly?
No, what we.
It's one building.
It's all one.
It's all one building.
Yes, one
Okay.
building, but he owns this building as well as this lot over here. And so the thought was that if he ever did a restaurant, he would need to create a parking lot over here to help, to get enough parking to have a restaurant.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Mostly because you can't put a tree there because there's a road there. So he's just trying to beautify it a little bit and change.
Right, this is the building we're
I
talking
mean, there's no work, but
What's that width right there?
about. Which one?
sidewalk.
Sidewalk,
I know that, it's approximately 7.5 feet. Actually, on one of the, if you have the site plan, I actually put a dimension on it, because I don't want to misspeak on that. It's either 7.5 or 8, but on the site plan I provided, I actually put the dimension of the sidewalk so you can all reflect it.
Minimum's 5 feet for 8 ADA.
minimum for ADA, I believe, is 36-inch. Now, it's typically have all of our,
But we usually have a curb, don't they?
yes, yeah. I'm not an accessibility specialist, I'm not.
So, and how many,
yeah, so on the dimensions, it shows 7'6".
and how many,
But half of that's on your property and half of it's on the city.
Half of it, approximately line directly down the middle of the sidewalk.
So if a planter box is placed against the building and it was 2 feet wide, you'd still have roughly 5 feet of sidewalk to maneuver.
how many parking are back there behind?
Do you remember how many spaces are back there now? 16?
And what's the requirement? Is it based on the square footage?
Yeah, it depends on the use. For the churches, it's 1 per 3. church.
Yeah.
The zoning is fine.
Mary's been dead for years. It's sort of nice to have somebody interested in it.
Okay, so,
What is the ask?
yeah,
That we allow them to get a CO, so we're zoning them into existence, with a use list, that was, a reduced use list from the C1 district. Right, so it's currently C1, and so they've taken the C1 district and pared it down. I think there's 60 uses in C1, and they've pared it down to about 20. And then allowing landscaping, to not follow our standard landscaping rules because there is not enough room on the site. But in order to try to provide some greenery, is providing something similar to this, a planter box that also serves as a small bench along the front of the building sidewalk.
What's your recommendation?
so how did P&Z do it?
P&Z approved it, with our recommendation, which was to, if a restaurant does go in there, that you've got to do basically a parking agreement with himself and provide parking on that vacant lot, because all the other uses that were in the list, based on square footage of the building, would support the current parking he has on the site.
So Ben, just to be clear, he does a restaurant and he does a parking agreement on the other side as well. Is that leaving it at the 75, one parking spot per 75 feet is why we're doing it across the road? Or are we doing it to what they're proposing, the 160, and going across?
Now, the 160 would be all on-site, and then the 75, 1 per 75 would require the lot across the street.
Does this benefit the place of work?
So what's gonna be the parking requirement for restaurants?
If it's approved as we propose, it's 1 per 75,
Okay,
and that would require him to do the
okay,
parking lot.
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
That's what I'm getting
How does this affect the place of worship in any way?
at.
How's that?
It allows them to have a
The church.
Well, no, because we gotta do it as SUP the way it's written.
Right, so I'm trying to determine, well, how does this affect the church?
They'll have to do an SUP in order to get the CO.
There's no other way around that without sending them to those extra hoops.
If you could have it as a condition in here that if he does the landscaping, as required by this ordinance, that they could have the CO since they're already in there. But then if they move out and another church comes in, then they would be required to get an SUP.
So there with that, but that's not sending the current church to those hoops.
Right.
But if that church moves out, and somebody else decides to move in,
Right.
then at that point, okay.
Yeah, you would make it a condition of this approval, that
Right.
the current church can stay in there without an SUP.
Okay.
And we could issue them a CO, but if they leave and another church comes, then they would have to
Right.
get the SUP.
Okay.
Or if the restaurant comes, they build the parking.
Correct.
Wow.
With the planter boxes.
Right.
Was it clear, Mud? Council, you got any other questions? All right, good one? All right. All right. That good? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really like the fact that we're not gonna burden the existing, operation with SUP because it's really been, something that we're anxious to share with them.
Please amend the motion for this.
You can just approve it as written, with staff recommendations, plus the condition that if they get the planter boxes done, then the church doesn't have to go, through the SUP process.
The existing church. The existing church.
Existing church.
So moved. All right. All right, figure out where I am. All right, Councilman Franklin. And second was, Smith? Okay.
Smith.
Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
That's fine.
Good.
But now they'll have to go through and just make sure it doesn't cross ADA rules, right?
No, it's all ADA compliant, 'cause it's all flat.
Unless he builds a real big planter box.
Yeah. Right now, they're not driving on the sidewalk, I guess.
We hope not.
Okay.
Everybody get in and out safe.
All right.
I love that Bonnet Cloud idea, forward thinking, that gets uniqueness, makes people come to Red Oak to see what it's about. I think that's an excellent idea.
You gotta love it, camera over here.
All right, item, 16, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance number 22-047, City of Red Oak, Texas, amending the comprehensive zoning ordinance and map of the City of Red Oak, Texas, as heretofore amended by granting a change in zoning from commercial C1 to planned development 146, PD 146, to allow for a reduction in landscaping and parking requirements on the properties located on the southeast corner of Sunflower Street and East Ovilla Road, identified as lots 1, 2, and 3, Block C of the Highland Meadows Number 1 Edition, located at 233, 235, 237 Ovilla Road, in the City of Red Oak, Ellis County, Texas, being more particularly described in Exhibit A, which is attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing for a landscape site plan, providing parking lot plan, elevations, signage, dumpster enlargement plan, plan development standards, and parking matrix as exhibits B through H respectively, attached hereto and incorporated herein, providing the repealing clause, providing the severability clause, providing the savings clause, and providing a penalty of fine not to exceed the sum of $2,000 for each offense, and providing an effective date. This is case ZC 22-29, requested by Claude Mitchell.
Sorry, before we get started, IT just notified me that someone has hacked into our broadcast. So, John's advising that no one click on any link, pop up in a chat window. They're trying to get access into the meeting, chat window. So please don't click on any links in the chat window.
Isn't it cyber awareness?
Yeah. Just because I made that proclamation.
We made it 2.5 years, that's a pretty good run.
He just makes you aware.
Dr. M.
This is a request to rezone the property from Commercial District 1 to Planned Development 146 to allow for the proposed landscaping to serve as the required landscaping on site. The applicant will be installing 1 hanging basket with faux Boston ferns on each building column and 3 dwarf bollard holly on the east side of the property. As a result of insufficient calculated parking for the site, staff has created a parking matrix which will allow for less restrictive parking requirements. The existing dumpster will be enclosed with masonry screening, and the existing pole sign will be bricked as shown on the attached site plan. The Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of the request, and staff recommends approval.
Okay.
In addition to that, they're upgrading they're upgrading the sign.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah, they're bringing the
so-
signage.
So right now, it looks like this, and they're proposing to, put a nice brick stone column around the base.
This is caused by the highway statute, isn't it?
No, this is a CO review that indicated that we found that they're short on landscaping and parking.
It's not affected by Ovilla Road.
No, on the Avila Road project, they're going to the other side of the road. If y'all remember that Castrol, Quick Change place?
Yeah.
Goes north and south.
Yeah, they're
Bypass.
taking like 25 feet on this side and nothing on the other side.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so this is public hearing. We'll open this public hearing at 9:16. So We do have one, mail in or email in, and this is Brenda Bott, what's the vote? I apologize. At, 513 Butterfly Lane. She says she was unable to call, to come to the meeting in person to speak, and her internet connection is not working, so she can't attend by Zoom. So she did email this to us, or how we got it. She wanted to leave her comment read into the record. So she is concerned about the addition of more parking behind the strip center. This is the one we're talking about, correct? Okay. That's next to the Dollar General in the Highland Meadows addition off of Ovillo Road. She says that she's concerned about the trash and the odor, as well as legal activities that may occur in the parking lot. She has spoken to Mr. Hartman previously about her concerns. So we will submit that into file. Okay. Is there anyone here that wishes to speak on this? Okay. Please approach and state your name and your address, sir.
My name is Jeff Mitchell. I live at 748 West Park Court in Keller, Texas. I am here to represent my father. He had surgery and he is in a rehab center right now. So, however, I grew up in Red Oak, went through Red Oak schools. My father lives in Oak Leaf now. So we're trying to work with what we have in the limited space to get more parking. You want to pull up the drawing, the one with,
Are you putting it on ours or up there?
Yeah, I'm doing it.
Okay.
Are y'all seeing this?
Yes.
Okay. Which one do you want to see?
so the back, where the dumpster would be in the parking?
Here?
Yes. So what we're trying to do in the back is there's AC units currently all along the back. We're trying to move those to both ends so we can add additional parking back there. And right now they're kind of doing parallel with the building, but they would be able to go like horizontal. And we'd be able to do a line of parking back there. And then enclose the dumpster. There's a dumpster enclosure we're proposing that would masonry around it and for looks. And then the Burford Hollies, there's the dumpster enclosure. And then the ACs would be on both ends. The west end currently has a hedgerow that would block them for screening. And on the east end, in between the Dollar General, we would put them on the Ovillo Road side to screen them on that side. And then the Dollar General and the dumpster enclosure would screen from the other two sides. We decided, on the landscape to try to enhance the look of the building is to use the fake ferns, Boston ferns, which are silt. I'm actually in the landscape industry. These plants are they're high end. You couldn't tell unless even if you touch them, they're very nice plants. We wanted to go fake because of the irrigation. If you have irrigation on those columns, you're going to create a slip hazard on the concrete, plus the tubing of non-potable water all over, the front of the building. So we've proposed putting in a fake ferns. Now, the Burford Hollies on the left side there would be real.
Ben, can you pull up Google's street views?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, we are not.
Oh. Now, there.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
My father.
Your father owns the building?
Yes.
Okay. Can you pull up along the church to the west side?
There's the ACs that he's talking about, which inhibits parking back there right now, so moving them over to the side of the building, would allow for some parking back back here.
What's the gravel there?
Sorry, the
What,
what?
on the west side right there? The left. Go, put your finger over
On the street.
on the street.
I'm sorry, the driveway?
The gravel.
Oh.
I mean, is that, do people park there?
People have created that. I don't think he actually,
It's not intended.
yeah. They just started parking there.
They have at times in the past. And it's,
Okay.
Maybe more the church.
So the dumpster's in the backside anyway right now, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so they're gonna provide screening for,
That's one of the roads that we just redid, right?
Sunflower, I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
Man, could you show them maneuverability? So if I go in nose first, how do I get out?
You would come in, pull in here, you know, again, the ATs would be gone, so you could park closer to the building, and then you would just have to back out.
So is that a 20-foot
Yeah, what's the
distance?
maneuverability on that?
I don't know.
There should be a matrix of the parking.
So the parking spaces were 19.6, and the back out spaces were 12.
32 feet.
Okay, thanks.
Gotta have buffers.
so the only time you might run into something is if somebody's going both ways on their drive at the same time.
That much traffic.
Right. Not in the back. I mean, it's typically gonna be staff parking in the back, so,
Go back and blow that up. So what's the distance from the dumpster to the back of the Dollar General, or the screening wall? 2 feet?
It's, I don't, but, I mean, it's a brick wall around it.
I believe currently that pad goes over past the building on the back, correct? My sister's here, I'm sorry. You might look on a bird's eye.
yeah, it looks like.
Yes, the pad hangs over currently.
Then what's your recommendation?
For 20 years, and
Plus,
just bringing it into conformance, so we can give them COs, and improving it by striping out some parking in the back, getting a little extra greenery than we have right now.
PNC approved, they approved it, or?
They did.
All right. Anyone else want to speak on this issue? Thank you, sir. 9:25, I'll entertain a motion to close this public hearing. Councilman Franklin, Goodwin? Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right. Council, any other questions?
No question.
Entertain a motion to approve ordinance number 22-047.
So moved.
Councilman Franklin, Councilman Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Aye.
Drake, aye. That's 4-0. Last item, before we get into board appointments. So, conduct a public hearing and consider approval of ordinance. Thank you very much. Hope Father gets.
So will we just go ahead with
And we'll follow up.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Consider approval of ordinance number 22-048, City Council of Texas, City of Red Oak, Texas, consolidating reinvestment zone number 5 and number 6 into a new and designated reinvestment zone number 9, providing eligibility of the zone for commercial industrial tax abatement, containing findings that the area qualifies to be designated as a reinvestment zone and and the improvements sought are feasible and practical and of benefit to the land and the city, providing a severability clause, providing a repealing clause, and providing an effective date.
Well, Lee's been working on it. I can give it to you in a nutshell. The nutshell version is, we did this, years ago now, and we had the lawsuit with Rocket SUD, and some of the time on that reinvestment zone has expired. So it's kind of bringing us up to date so that now Rocket lawsuit is done. We're starting back from ground zero. None of the incentives are changing, but we're getting that back to a good starting date. And we have now done the land swap with Alamo Mission, so that is allowing the back portion that was previously owned by IDC to come into that same reinvestment zone. Is that good?
You approve, sir? I'm good. All right. This is a public hearing. We'll open the public hearing at 9:29. 9:28. Anyone here to speak on this? Anyone online to speak on this? All right, I'll entertain a motion at 9:28 and 5/10. So move, to close. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin,
Drake, aye.
4-0. All right, council, not all of you were on council at the time when all this was done. Do you have any specific questions that you need answered? Entertain a motion to approve, ordinance number 22-048.
So moved.
Councilman Drake, Councilman Goodwin, those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. Item 18, appointment, reappointments, resignations for boards and commissions. On the Library Advisory Board, reappointment of Juan Gutierrez as regular member for a 2-year term from October 22 through October 24. I ask for consideration of that reappointment. Councilman Goodwin, second. Councilman Drake. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye.
Drake, aye.
Smith, aye.
All right, that passes 4-0. So departmental reports, Chief. If you're hemmed in there, you can stand right there, but.
All right.
We're not gonna.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'll let you know, Chief Young, Chief Nichols, and Chief Yockman completed their first year of the Texas Fire Chiefs Academy. This is a 2-year commitment that covers numerous comprehensive topics, for those in the fire, or for the chief officer role. In addition, they have a project that they must complete prior to their year 2, that they'll present to fire chiefs across the state of Texas. So I just want to compliment those individuals. We have conducted new hire testing. Those that were successful in passing the physical agility, went through a panel interview last week, and we're taking some of those top candidates, and they will be doing, I believe it's next week, I'm quoting, polygraph and psych, and move those along to the chief's interview. And I plan on presenting that new hire to you at the November council meeting.
How many looking?
Sir?
How many?
We're just hiring one. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And other than that, I don't have anything additional as council or mayor. If y'all have any questions about our monthly report.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Grizzly Wolf, I'm sorry, Chief Wolf.
Mayor, Council, I think I used all my time earlier. We've had a slight uptick on our response times, based on our increase in calls for service and those in that. I don't have anything to add to the monthly report unless you have questions.
Thank you, Chief. Ms. Beasley.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I just have a couple things, an update on the website redesign. So we have received and approved a layout proposal. That sounds really cool, but in reality, all it is a whole bunch of squares that say where stuff may go. So I actually have a meeting with Civic at the end of the month, and we'll start talking, the design element. So I'm hoping, knock on wood, though, you know, not 100% guarantee, I'm hoping my next meeting I have some things that I can at least show you guys. We did, 2 businesses, open last month, here in Red Oak that we attended the grand opening for. So Red Oak Beauty Supply has their ribbon at the end of the month, and then the new 7-Eleven is also open. And then the other thing I wanted to let you guys know about is we will be starting our State of the City towards the end of the year. So if you guys are interested in participating in that this year, we are continuing with our video format. We do have a teleprompter that we are purchasing, so we will have that available as well. But if you guys are interested in participating in it, please let me know. Like I said, we'll start filming that a little bit earlier than we did last year. I'm hoping for the end of mid-December, maybe before the holidays, so we can get it done for the new year. So that is all I have. I will take any additional questions that you may have. You have a question?
Thank you, ma'am.
You mean you're signing up for the video, right? That's what.
Thank you, ma'am.
Make sure that teleprompter has got big letters.
Jumbo size, I got it.
Mr. Horton.
I just want to let y'all know that our interim building official has completed all of his, training and certifications to, get his certification for building official. And so we've been able to promote him to our chief building official, which is great for him, great for our department. Glad that he can stay on. But we now have an open spot for building inspector. So Councilman Franklin, you want to send some people our way? We'd appreciate it. That's all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Ms. Platt. Listen. Councilman Goodman.
I just have a few things to highlight. We did close on the tax notes, that were recently approved by council, $5.279 million. We closed on September 27th, for the capital projects that are included in the fiscal 23 budget. Also, finance is working with the departments. We're going to host a presentation and training, on purchasing, and so we'll be doing that in November. So that all that are having a part in the purchasing process in the city can have some additional training and have some time for questions and that kind of thing. Also, we have not received our sales tax collection this month, but September, as shown in the report, we were still 13.31% over the previous year's fiscal year to date. That's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Amanda. Hop along. You can just stand right there.
Thank you.
Yell loud. You're loud enough.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. We are currently recruiting for 9 positions, and I think almost every department, or a couple of them, have announced promotions or new hires that have occurred this month. So we're all working hard to recruit, and we do have that building inspector position available, along with police and maintenance. I would also like to recognize that this month is National Hispanic Heritage Month, and we will be working with communications and marketing on posting that information out on social media this week. We'll also be having customer service training for our city employees next week and on-site flu shots. Have any questions?
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bedford.
Yes, sir. Just a couple updates, most of them over at the Government Center, but I don't want to take Jonathan's on that. We did get the kiosk wired up at the front and the network connected to it. It was mostly up, and then they needed to change the outside of the building so they could put the rock up, so they just cut the line, and so we're back to putting that in. We did get a couple of network switches configured. One of them was for the a kiosk that's not plugged in anymore. Then we did finalize the access control systems done with bad security, so we finally got that finished, and that's a long process, but I think we're all done on that now, and that's all the big stuff. Obviously, it's cybersecurity month, we can get hacked and,
And don't push the chat button.
yeah, no, but,
So, thank you, sir. You know, this past week we were at TML and actually sat in on one of the cities, I think Richardson, didn't make the news. You would think that it would have, but their city hall caught on fire and it melted their cables and their server systems. And for them to have rebuilt that, to be able to provide service to their city citizens, just to make sure that, I'm sure we got redundancy off that site someplace else.
we have backups, but we don't have redundant servers. We would have to purchase a server and then restore to.
You know, that size city to lose all their communication was probably very devastating, and I know you're probably thinking on how I can fit that into the budget.
I have nightmares about that, so, yeah.
Well, let's try not to make those nightmares so you get scared. Let's think on those, on how we
We
can.
would be able to get critical services back up. We do have enough redundant sites that we had to repurpose an existing server for critical function, we could.
In what type of time frame? Half a day?
Half a day, probably.
You know,
We don't have quite the day that Richardson had.
sure, well, I guess my point is everything over there now working, or is some of it right here?
Well, there's still some here, there's some that's live up, there's some that.
So do they write to each place?
We don't have redundancy from site to site yet. We've done planning for it, but we just don't have the budget to put it in yet. For future planning, we have to have pricing for that.
The only redundant servers we have are
SCADA. Yeah, SCADA is redundant.
For who?
For the SCADA system for public works.
Or you think you're special?
And that's brand new.
It's for the water system.
That's just this year.
Oh, the water system.
So in the last, 3 months? Yep, that was about.
Okay. Look.
We're getting there.
Yeah, we are, and I just, you know, you don't think it's gonna happen to us, it's, you know, we always think of disaster affecting our citizens, but we don't, this talk was basically talking about, we don't expect it to happen to the core of the city, and the city can't function then there afterwards. That's what's scary, and the citizens may not even think about us going down, but we might go down. So,
I have been in the spot of the previous company. We had a tornado take out one of our main sites, so. Been there.
anyway, just a little aside note, thank you very much. Mr. Ragsdale, oh, there you are.
Yep, I'm online. First of all, let me apologize for a abbreviated and late report. I'm recovering from COVID. Today was my first day back, but I went ahead and left early. It was a mild case, thank goodness. Anyway, as you notice on what I'll make up for the abbreviated report by having an annual report next month. As you notice on the year-to-date sheet, we doubled circulation this year. Obviously, we were open, and so being open, we were able to double circulation. We had a high, in September, we had a high month for new patrons. We had 70 new patrons, which is higher than most Octobers, but we did have 98 customers, I think, earlier in June. We had our first bilingual story time last Tuesday as part of our regular. I was out that Tuesday. We had already planned on having 2 of my employees do a bilingual story time. So we had a really good attendance and had a great time at that. And then next Tuesday, we're having a guest speaker of Congressman Jake Ellzey. Congressman Jake Ellzey will be reading to the kids next Tuesday morning at 10, celebrating the 75th anniversary of Goodnight Moon. I chose the book to him to read, which is a classic story, bedtime story. So unless you had any other questions, that's all I have for tonight.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Mayor, council, good evening. I'd like to invite everybody next Tuesday to the Watkins Park at 6:45. If you'll call our office and let us know, we'll get you a Chick-fil-A sandwich, some chips, and a drink to come hang out with us. And we're going to watch the Incredibles 2. It's a kids movie, but we tried to play it once before in the spring and got rained out and decided we'd try it again this fall.
So you want us to have rain?
Sir?
You want us to have rain?
I'm trying
Okay,
really,
good.
really hard. I mean, if it's gonna happen, it'll be on this Tuesday. Yes, sir. Next week. And then, I'd also like to advise you too that the, basketball court over at Hargrove Park is nearing completion as far as the functional features, minus the court striping. The court striping won't be completed for another 2.5 to 3 weeks. When they come back, we'll acid wash, pressure wash the surface, and then put the striping down, because we'll get a 5-year guarantee that that striping will be there in 5 years. So with that being said, the goals went up today, so if everything went right, and when we go back out there in the morning, there should be goals, and folks can safely play out there, and we want to kind of invite some folks to get started, and that just gives us a little bit of time. We need 1 day in about 3 weeks, so we strike the courts, and then we'll be completed.
How about the covered basketball court over in Watkins? How we progressing on that, or we started it, or?
Basketball, or?
Basketball, we're supposed to have a covered basketball.
We haven't actually brought that one.
Huh?
We haven't actually brought that one for pricing yet.
Really?
Yeah. No, we approved the pricing on Hargrove, and because we had all that ready, he's still gonna get the pricing on Watkins.
Okay. We'll do that.
I'll get you the pricing on that.
All right.
And then finally, I want everybody to know that the playground over at it's gonna be a tri area, but it's basically Watkins Park. The playground is complete, 100%, passed the safety inspection, and we went through and made sure that everything was finished on it. We're not quite ready to open it yet. We wanna make sure that everything around the playground is safe, because kids will have a tendency to wanna wander around, and they're getting very, very close with the drainage coming from the new construction around the building is just about complete. So it's coming along very quickly. I'll give you all a date on when it's gonna open, and then we'd like to have a ribbon cutting to have everybody out there to sort of celebrate the new playground and to present it to the community officially.
Great.
Any questions or anything I can answer?
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just a quick update. Last council meeting, the council knows that the combination of the county and working with Texas Bid to do the roads at Beckley Pike had been, they had equipment problems, a number of issues, and they were unable to do it in August. So they're going to push us back to February and March. So, in conversation with Todd, we actually went to pretty good lengths of working with Texas Bid and another contractor called Reynolds Asphalt. And we would utilize, in that case, would have utilized the interlocal agreement that we have currently with the City of Grand Prairie. We got quotes for them to just do the roads without the county doing the make-ready stuff. So it would have come at a significant cost, but we try to look at the numbers as well, but more importantly, it was not going to happen much sooner. The soonest they could give us would be the first of the year. So, talking sometime in January. That's still, it seems like so much of this is they're having trouble getting material. So even if they say January, still get pushed back to February or March, where we already are currently. We're gonna proceed with the precinct 4 coming in, doing Begley Pikes, but we're also gonna do, the 8 other streets. So sometime between now and then, it's agenda item with council to approve the expenditure for the 8 other streets. So the county will, with Texas bid at that point, will do all the roads at that point. So spend a lot of time there. Sure. And the quick update on Methodist Road, you know, that's been awarded to SYB contractors. We were trying to put together a pre-construction meeting next week and get them started, hopefully in the next 3 weeks, on that project.
Are you in charge of traffic lights? How long they stay on?
You know where they are?
Methodist and Red Oak Road. That's the longest doggone light when you're going east and west I've ever seen in my life.
Well, we can certainly look at how it's timed out. So, we normally hear it, you know, from when people say the lights come on, we normally hear about it, so.
He times it on the 0 to 60 speed, getting through there. It's hampering the style.
So,
coming over here,
Yeah, that's right.
We'll look at it, Councilman.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. And Mr. Phillips.
Mayor and council, a few updates on our government center project. We finally got our insurance adjuster out last week. I think it was out Thursday. Thanks to Chief Blanton for meeting him over there. So we're waiting to hear back as far as the roof claim, as I mentioned, our last council meeting, that flat tar and gravel roof area on the back side of the building. So, depending on how that comes out, we may have an item, hopefully on our next agenda to approve, getting that roof, replaced, with some help from our insurance company. As far as the interior of the building goes, we've got, quite a bit going on. They've done, their final coat of paint on section 1 of the building. So again, that's down there at the core, working your way, to the east. Doing primer and first coat on the second section of the building. A note, I was out there for a few minutes today. They've actually started putting tile down in the restrooms on the first section of the building. So, some of the finished work has begun. Ceiling, tiles are starting to be put in, motion sensors are being put in. So like, for example, now if you walk in those rooms, the lights come on automatically, go off automatically for energy savings. So, all those little details are starting to come together, especially in section 1. If you drive by, you'll notice that they've also started putting sticky stone on the facade of the building. So that started, and it's over there. They're starting from the corner that juts out closest to the driveway. I guess that's the kitchen area, and then they're working their way across the front of the building. So, if you get a chance, you might want to swing by and look at the stone going up. And then we're waiting on a few material delays. It seems like the biggest one right now has to do with the regulators on the gas lines on the roof. So the new gas lines are up, but they can't attach everything and test until they get those regulators in. So we've been waiting for several months for those times. Hopefully we won't need the gas for a little while. It won't be too cool, but that's something that has kind of been a backlog. And that,
So the windows in the library gone in yet?
Not yet, no. We're supposed to get notification when that happens. We're gonna be doing an update video, a progress video, and some photos and different things for a post. And so one of the components we wanted to try to get, when they bring in those library windows, they're all one solid sheet of glass. so there's 4 of them.
Yeah. 3, I think.
3.
But I think they did tell us last week that they came in, they just haven't put them in yet.
Right, the glass is, they have the glass, but they haven't brought the crane out to install them. So we're gonna try to get some video when they actually put them in. And so, yeah, so we're gonna do some things like that for the update video.
And we're gonna be able to have that temporary sign out there, because people still think that that's a school property.
Yeah, we need to work on 2. We've been actually working on signage for the last couple of weeks, interior and exterior. We've been going over we're gonna change the flow of traffic in that whole area too. And so we're gonna restripe and send vehicles in different directions. So we're working on a traffic plan right now for that.
Just a temporary sign.
Sure.
Be good.
One thing that I would request is that when Ben is presenting change and things like that, I'd like to know what P and Z and he recommend at the beginning.
It's in there.
He's not, but he hasn't been saying that. I have to ask 2 or 3 times what their recommendations are. I'd like to know what the recommendations are.
It's in the memo.
Huh?
It's in the memo.
Yeah.
Not on the agenda, but it's in the memo on the council packet.
No, in fact,
Yeah, I mean, he can say it if it's easier, but it's in there.
because we're sitting here arguing and going back and forth here, and he and P and Z recommendations make a great deal of parts to me.
Make sure that gets highlighted for you.
Thank you.
All right, so the time is 9:53, and we will go into closed session pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.071, 551.087. And that's at 9:53. Thank you, directors, for your updates and, for keeping us safe.
Ben, well, at least you caught it.
Well, did you see that thing popping up?
I saw it says Jan.
Well, there was a notice that kept popping up, the host wanted to reclaim the video.
So what's all that mean?
They were basically trying to put something on the screen.
Did I brush my
We did pretty good. We managed 2.5 years without a hack.
I got a couple minutes. They tried.
The account was not loaded.
So along those lines.
Yeah, I don't know if anybody.
Well, I'll probably change mine. Nobody has done that.
But it's just changing.
You couldn't get all of it.
You as well, drop close.
Brought in the first
turn that off. Part about the host trying to take over.
Well, that's also like, any share their screen.
Well, we have to have.
Yeah, like, council member, whoever shares their screen or requests to share their screen.
Problem is, you can't set that only certain people can.
Where to go,
Right.
time to be there.
And each of you are Mark.
We could do that, our council meeting would probably swap.
Okay.
The complaint that we
It's
got.
like, why are you doing that? It's like, because I just lean over and ask people.
I couldn't believe it. Can't go anywhere.
Hey, can you clarify this?
Hijack.
What is the question about? I'm not listening to BC 181. So what? Like, lean over and get whatever.
Right, these please hijack now. Shut the whole deal on, take it back to share. Yeah, it's showing up as host once. Back, bring here. So we've been,
Is your hand?
so we've been.
No, but I
Someone can
Yeah.
put it.
We borrowed his,
No,
no, it's.
Oh, that's on the computer, but it's actually found it.
Maybe.
He's gonna open the door and throw it out.
Oh, God, and then we have to hear him.
No, you can tell him.
No, I'll have to.
You can tell him.
He'll write it down.
I did it.
So take that up with your boss.
Tell him I did it, and, I don't know.
He'll write it down.
He won't even come change the trash out when I'm talking. He waits until I'm not in here.
Oh.
I don't talk to him all the time.
they can make a driveway right there now. Right. Approach to it. Right. Well, that actually is not the driveway, that is on there. But they can make a driveway out of it. No.
They can't. He's just talking about that property that jogs down.
Yeah, right there, they can't use that. No, the problem with that,
Yes, I have motion, Mayor, to read in the record.
There you go.
Thank you. Yes, I am ready, Mayor.
All right. So the time is, 10:45, and we'll go back into open session. Do we have any action items?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'd ask you to consider the following motion as a result of the executive session. A motion to approve a grant of a 20-foot wastewater easement in favor of Rocket Special Utility District, the property owned by the city of Red Oak, located along and adjacent to Farm Market 664, and authorize the mayor to execute such conveyances.
Okay. Goodwin, second by Drake.
Yep.
Any other discussion? Those in favor?
Franklin, aye. Drake, aye. Smith, aye.
Passes 4-0. Is there any other actions?
No other action, Mayor.
All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn at 10:46. That was Franklin, second by Goodwin. Those in favor?
Franklin, aye. Drake, aye. Smith, aye.
4-0.
And just for the record, Madam City Secretary, I will email all of these things to you tomorrow morning.